Hi, my name is Stupak of Empellon restaurants here in Manhattan, and today we're going to talk about the finer points of making guacamole. Today we are going to make 3 versions of guacamole, a classic and 2 interesting variations. And first we're going to start with some of the finer points of making a basic guacamole. We're using Hass avocados. There's a lot of different varieties of avocados, but making guacamole in the United States, I recommend this one. It has a pebbly dark skin, and you can tell it's ready when you push it on your thumb. It doesn't feel mushy, but it does give. It's a little bit soft. So first thing we're going to do is cut these open. So we're going to take a knife and we're just going to go around the world like this, and we're going to split these guys open. To remove the pit from an avocado, just take the heel of your knife, go like that. It'll come right out. And the next thing we're going to do is mash them, so to speak. We actually have an unusual technique for mashing them in that we don't actually mash them at all. We found that often guacamole, sometimes they're overworked, sometimes they're underworked and have too big of a chunk in them, and this is the way we standardize it. You're going to need a flat container, and you're going to get a resting rack for roasting meat. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a spoon and we're just going to scoop the flesh out of these avocados and put it right on top of this rack. So next thing we're going to do is we're just going to push these through with our hands. And if you picked a good avocado, you can see how easily it goes through. This is kind of our standard for gauging guacamole. You see how you can still see that olivey yellow color and that vibrant green color? You want to keep those 2 colors disparate the entire time. If the whole thing has been mixed to a sort of homogeneous color, that's our visual indicator that the guacamole has been overmixed. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to season this with a little bit of salt. We're going to put a little bit of lime juice on it, and not too much. There's a myth that lime juice keeps avocados from oxidizing. It's actually not true. Lime juice actually makes them oxidize quicker. There's all sorts of myths. One of them is that you can leave the pit inside of it. I don't really believe any of them. I think the best way to proceed is to have all your ingredients ready and make it at the last minute, because it's not that complicated. So we're putting the lime juice on here just for flavor. And again, I think when guacamole is overly acidic, you start to lose some of that rich quality of the avocado. So we have some lime juice in here, and the next thing you need is onion. White onion's a lot milder. When you hear people say that they don't like raw onion, it's probably because they've been eating raw yellow onions, not raw white onions. And we're going to mince this finely. We're going to sprinkle some of our onion in. I figure about a half a medium white onion is a good amount for 3 avocados. But again, I completely leave that up to the person making it. And the most important thing is just taste as you go along. Next ingredient that I think is a deal breaker if you don't have it for guacamole is cilantro. So we have some cilantro leaves here, and we're just going to barely cut them. Again, sometimes I think people chop herbs way too much and they're left with sort of a green powder on their cutting board. So we're going to sprinkle that in. And that's all you need for your basic guacamole. Now, why we did it in this flat pan is, again, because if you do this in a deep bowl and you keep mixing it, you might be mashing it up more than you want to. To me, this just, in its most basic form, this is a beautiful guacamole. So next, we have this neutral guacamole, and now we're going to do a variant on it. We're going to give it some more flavor. So I have some pickled jalapenos here. So I pickle my own, but the ones in the can, there's nothing wrong with them. And we're just going to cut these into a small dice. For a fresh, spicy green chili flavor, we have some serrano chilies. Similar flavor to a jalapeno, much spicier. And I'm just going to cut these into thin slices. We're going to say this next one that we're making is going to be in between mild and medium. I'm going to sprinkle some of this jalapeno into it. Again, I'm just going to barely mix it, and we're just going to let it fall as it will into this little cazuela. We're going to garnish this with some of these green chili slices. And what you're left with here is a very typical guac. To make it a little bit more interesting, we are going to take some pistachios, and we're going to chop those up and add them. Adding nuts to guacamole is quite unusual, and I think there's a nutty quality that avocados have that lends itself really well to the nuts, and I really like the green on green theme here. And now to do something really spicy. Habanero chile. Probably the hottest chili used in Mexican cooking. It's also one of the most delicious chilies. You have to be careful with it. We're gonna take about that much of it. What I recommend doing is, one, not crushing it, to cut it with a sharp knife, which helps control the heat. And I also recommend not using the seeds. In working with chilies, you may want to consider using rubber gloves. I'm just gonna mince that up a little bit finer. When cutting chilies or onions or herbs, the finer you cut them, the more all the flavors are gonna start to align in harmony. So we're gonna sprinkle that chili in. And because I think one of the unique flavor notes in a habanero is citrus, I have a Oro Blanco grapefruit, so we're gonna add some of that and just getting that fruit out. So I'm gonna save a few for garnish. I'm gonna cut a few up, add those. If you want, you can squeeze a little bit of the juice from the grapefruit into it. Again, we're just gonna barely mix that. You can kind of see now it's almost as easy to make 3 different types of guacamole as it is to make one. We'll just place these grapefruit segments on top. So there you go. 3 different guacamole variations, and now you're an expert. You know everything I know.